guys, my name's Lisa,
And I'm Brittany.
And I'm Tara.
and this is the Imperfect Moms Club. In today's episode, we talk about that dreaded thing called the comparison game. The comparison game.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Mom guilt, the comparison game.
Yeah,
That's like I love Instagram. It's like my favorite thing, but then it's also like the worst thing.
Mhm.
So
yeah, right now what I'm dealing with is because I'm trying to like breastfeed. Sorry, toddler's throwing a tantrum. So I'm sorry to you and I'm sorry to listeners. She's having a moment. But anyway, so my thing right now is I'm trying to like breastfeed, and it's really, I can't seem to figure it out. Like I just can't. Like she'll latch on me, but then she'll make like a disgusted face and like,
oh my.
and I'm just like, why? Like my boobs are here for you.
Like, did I have spicy Mexican last night?
Yeah,
like what's the problem here?
Like nothing. So I don't know if it's because like when I first started, like nothing was really coming out, and so she's just frustrated and won't. I don't know what it is, but so I've been pumping, but I'm not getting a lot doing that either, and so I'm just thinking about like all the other moms out there that always talk about how much milk they have and stuff, and it's really, really hard to not compare yourself to other moms. Like that's something, I mean, I know it's bad. Like we all know that it's bad, but we all fall into it. Like we all do it. We all, secretly hate other moms because they can do things that we can't, and so like we know it's bad, but it's just that's just how it is. And so yeah, breastfeeding is like my thing right now that I'm like, other people can do it. I can't do it. I don't understand. And it's like stressing me out. And then mom guilt comes in because I'm like, well, I can't I can't feed my kid the way I'm supposed to be supposed to, in quotes, because fed is best, but whatever. But like there's still that voice in my head that's like the mom shaming, like you should be able to do this and you should be doing this. And so I feel guilty because I'm like, I can't even produce enough from pumping. So like she's not really getting that much. And then it like stresses me out, and like, I don't know. And plus my hormones are still all over the place because I like just had her less than 2 weeks ago. So that doesn't help.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I remember the breastfeeding days and the pumping days, and they were so hard. Like I started out as very, what's the word? Under average, I guess. It wasn't enough. And I did all the research. I made my lactation cookies. I did all the things. And then, yeah, I basically pumped to the point where I was like bleeding excessively, and I was getting a little disformed.
Oh no.
So it was gross. And I'm like, I need to stop. Like, this is not okay. And at that point I had some in my stock that I'm like, okay, I'm going to start to wean off of this. And she's got enough to make it till, I don't know, 9 months or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But I was like, this is like, I don't know if I'm going to get infected and die from this. Like, what a horrible way to go.
Yeah.
But Lisa and I we were texting a little bit back and forth throughout the week and talking about, the comparison game and trying to pump enough breast milk and all that. And I mentioned to her, and I want to say it here, how I totally get it, because there's this mom friend I have on Facebook, and I'm not going to say how many kids she has, because if she's listening, she's totally going to know I'm talking about her. And if you are listening, I love you. I do love you, but she's so perfect in every way. She's gorgeous. She has long, gorgeous hair. She's so skinny, even though she's pumped out 100 babies. I'm like, how? She'll do her pictures, and she's like, I'm 7 months pregnant. And then I don't see anything. I'm like, what? So, do you even have to buy maternity clothes? Like, or do you just like size up to a medium? I hate you. Like, but she's like, I grow all of our vegetables organic in the garden, and then I make them food from scratch, and we have tea parties. And she would pump so much breast milk.
Oh
she
man.
would post pictures of just bags and bags, like grocery bags full of breast milk that she was donating, which is amazing. That's awesome. But I was like, are you kidding me? So I just had to like not like defriend her, but just there's a button you can click on Facebook where you don't see them as much. And I
Unfollow.
just had to,
Yeah.
I just had to click on it because every time I saw her, I just felt so defeated. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? I'm trying so hard. And I did the comparison game, and you will always lose when you play the comparison game. It doesn't matter if you're mom of the year, you're still going to lose.
Yeah.
So I still think she's amazing, but I can't look at her right now because it makes me feel like a failure. And she's not trying to do that. I know she's not.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that people look at my posts and they're like, oh, well, she's doing this and I'm not. Well, we all excel at something,
Yeah.
So
I mean, I've seen a few of your posts about like craft stuff, and I'm like, man, like I wish I could do that too. I mean, yeah. So I mean, it's everywhere. You can't can't not compare. Like it's really hard,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so I don't know if this is completely off topic. It's a little related, but my husband and I were talking about how like friends, if they're in the same kind of stage of life, it's kind of hard not to like compare yourself to them and like, but then I have friends that, I have a friend who she doesn't want kids and she's like doing something completely different, and I never have any problems and I never feel like any sort of way because she's in a different stage of life, And so I yeah, but what you're talking about unfollowing. So I feel like we're all a little bit like masochistic. Like we're all a little bit like, we want to keep looking at that even though we know it like makes us feel bad for some reason. Like Paul's always like, Lisa, just unfriend them or unfollow them or don't look at that stuff. But I can't.
Well, I feel like in a sick way, and I feel like everyone listening is going to kind of be like, yeah, but you have to admit it and just be real. We're kind of hoping they mess up and we can be there and be like, aha, look, they messed up,
Yeah.
but they never do.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, that's the kind of, and it's the kind of thing where like for my mental health, like I know that it would be really good for my mental health if I just didn't buy into all the stuff and, if I stayed off Facebook or whatever, but it's one of those things. Like you can't really keep yourself from looking at it even though it makes you feel like crap, and, it's just, I don't know. Some people can, more power to them. You are some strong people, but I am not. I like to, I don't know what it is. Cause like, I feel like crap, but then I don't know. I mean, I don't like feeling like crap, but I just, I'm like, oh yeah, well, I guess they're still perfect.
Exactly. Yeah. It's we like create this little narrative in our heads, that they're like this little Disney princess and their house is always clean and everything's wonderful and magical, but like they have bad days too, and we just have to remember that, and I'm preaching to myself too, because I totally fall into that. But something to remember is like, just because one mom is succeeding at something doesn't mean that you're failing,
Yeah.
So what I try and remember when I'm falling into this cycle of comparing, and then I'm shaming myself and I'm calling myself a failure and whatever, it's like, okay, I can take two paths here. I could look at her success and be like, okay, what can I learn from this? What is she doing that maybe I can implement into my life, and maybe I can have some of that? Or maybe I need to take the other path and realize for my own mental health, I just need to unfollow this person. Like, this is just not mentally healthy for me. And I think that has value too, because you're taking care of yourself and you're figuring out what fits in your life and what doesn't fit in your life. Those are things I try to do. I can't say that every single time that's immediately what I go to. I definitely scroll for a while first and I'm like, okay, I'm just beating myself over this. And the other person doesn't even know, they're just over there living their life, growing organic carrots and knitting all their sweaters from scratch that they spun from wool in their backyard, you know, and I'm over here just like, it doesn't do anything except upset me. So.
And that's the thing too, is like, we're all different. And so I feel like when we're looking at these things on social media, Like we're like, man, I should be doing that, but then we forget that like maybe that's not who we are, you know? Like maybe I mean, you know, I see people like growing gardens and stuff and I'm like, man, like maybe I should have a garden, but like I'm not a gardener. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like I would hate that. So, you know, it's also like we got to accept that like we're different than them, right? Like they might look like they're doing amazing things, but like we're doing our own amazing things. You know, we don't have to be, you know, it's just but it's hard to remember that. So like it's something like I'm working really hard on that and I've always, you know, I have to reflect a lot and be like, okay, well, that's pretty cool, but guess what I did too, you
Mm-hmm.
know, like you I don't know, you like knit your baby's clothes, you know, for them, but I bought a bunch of really cute crap from Carter's. Like, you know, like I'm just like
Mm-hmm.
you know, I did the thing. I went out and I, you know, I got out of my house and I spent money and, you know, so what if you made something by hand, you know? That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't, but you know, it doesn't make me any less of a mom. You know, I care about my kid just as much, you know, but yeah, so it's really hard to stop comparing. And I feel like
Yeah.
it's not just motherhood. Like I feel like in every aspect of life there's always going to be you're always going to compare yourself to someone else. It's just, you know, like, you know, when I had a job, it was they are a better employee than I am, or they, you know, can do this complicated thing and I can't, or whatever, you know, and it always stressed me out, which is why I don't have a job right now because I just the stress is too much. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I just it wasn't fulfilling to me. But you know, so there's always going to be something. But I feel like as a mom, there's more because it's more important in my opinion, you know, taking care of my children and making sure that whatever, like that's more important to me than any job has ever been. And so it makes me I don't know, like I compare myself more and I feel worse about it because I'm like, "Oh, crap, like what if I'm doing something wrong for my kid?" And that's my kid. You know what I mean? Like you want
Mm-hmm.
everything for your child and you want them to be perfect. And so it's just it hits harder.
Yeah.
It hits a lot harder.
Yeah. At the end of the day, all that our kids really want is they just want to know that they're loved and that you're proud of them. I mean, I cannot remember ever really having a real conversation with another adult where they're like, yeah, well, my mom gave me only organic food and breastfed me until I was like 3. You know, like I've never,
Yeah.
you know, talked to another adult like that, or like, oh, well, my mom had me reading by the time I was 18 months old, or I was potty trained by this time. You know, when you see all these adults, what really matters is, were you loved? Do you know your parents are proud of you? Do you know your parents are there for you? Or if they're gone, did you know that they were there for you and that
Yeah.
they were proud of you? And I read a quote today that I thought was so good. And I've heard it before, but not said in so few words. And the quote was, bad moms don't feel guilty. And I was like, yeah, that's
Mm,
totally right.
yeah.
So I think because we love our kids so much and we want to give them the absolute best,
Hmm.
we know our own faults. We know that we are not the best, but we're the best for them.
Hmm.
And so that's why we compare and we beat ourselves up because we want the world for our kids,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
we
that's true. If we
are
were bad
their
moms, we
world.
wouldn't care. Yeah.
Exactly. Unfortunately, I have a neighbor. How do I get? I had to call Child Protective Services this last week.
Oh no.
I know. I was like, I got to do this. This poor kid. I hope everything gets resolved because I just want this kid to be okay. But honestly, like, I don't feel like that kind of mom that I had to call on has mom guilt. I
Yeah.
don't, maybe she does. I hope she does. I hope that this is kind of a wake up call for her. But the things that I saw the last week, like, were things like that just broke my heart,
No.
you know? So, I mean, that's such a sad thing to say. And again, I really just hope everything turns out okay. And I'm going to kind of be watching a little bit and make sure this little guy's okay. But, you know, I know that, not to like compare myself and be like, oh, I'm such a better mom than her. It's like, I know what that I'm trying so hard. And like, yes, I don't get it every single time. And I mess up too, but I have an example right across the street of what can happen if you totally don't care at all. And I can
Yeah.
see that. And it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, like just a few weeks ago, Paul actually suggested, he was like, should we call someone? But I mean, we ended up not, but he was like walking in the neighborhood, and this little toddler was like outside on like a kind of a cold evening in like just a diaper.
Mm.
Nothing, no clothes, no shoes, nothing, just a diaper, and like his brother or sibling was like out too. And I was just like, okay, it's possible maybe he just ran out of the house or something, but like it's really cold outside. Like, where's your
Right.
toddler? Why are they just in a diaper? You know what I mean? So that kind of stuff like really, really affects me now. Like, I just, and it's not until you become a mom. Like, if I had seen that before, I would have been like, that's weird, but it wouldn't have been such an emotional response. So it
Mhm.
just, yeah, I mean, there's some things that I see that I just don't understand. And I mean, then again, then I think like, well, I don't know their story, I don't know their life,
Exactly.
but like, I don't know. It's kind of
Yeah.
hard to not be like, oh man, like if that was my kid, or like, if I would do it differently, or I would do it this way, it's just, I don't know, that's just kind of comparison game in reverse, I guess. I don't know, but
Yeah, yeah, and
it's kind of,
and you definitely don't want to fall into that thing where obviously these are extreme examples, but you see someone at church or you see someone in the grocery store or at the park and you're like, oh, well, I would never do that, or oh my goodness, they're giving their kid um Capri Sun, like,
yeah.
oh, I cannot believe it. You know,
Yeah, Capri Sun's
there
good.
are times when I'm with my friends and I see them and I'm like, I wouldn't do it that way, but okay,
Yeah.
that's not my kid. As long as no one is like getting hurt, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
you do you.
Yeah.
Because we're all just trying our best here. We're just trying to figure this out,
Mhm.
and I'm sure when my girls grow up, they're gonna be like, Mom, I cannot believe you only let us have one yogurt a day, and da 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 da. And studies show now in 2035 that you're supposed to be eating it at every meal. Like, I don't know.
Oh my
I'm
god.
just doing the best
Yeah,
I
all the
can right
studies, the
now.
new studies. Oh my god, I can't with like all the information out there. And like it's frustrating too because like you read books, and I mean this is kind of like you compare yourself to like the moms in these books, but like it's not, they're not real moms. It's just a book about parenting. But I'm over here like
Mm-hmm,
reading this and I'm like, man, I need to be like her, who's like,
mm-hmm,
the perfect example of what you're supposed to do, blah blah blah. But like I'm comparing myself to like a book about being a mom.
mm-hmm,
Like that's crazy. So I'm like, man, I really need to get my crap together and like do this better. But then you gotta, there's so many factors, like it's just a book. Like I had to tell my friend the other day, my best friend, I was like, she was like, man, like, so when or how old was your kid when they had like a blanket in the whatever crib? Because I read this one book and it said this thing, and I read this other book and it said this thing. And I literally told her stop reading books. Like just,
mm-hmm,
because it's all conflicting stuff and you're just going to stress yourself out, and you're just going to feel like you're doing something wrong and you're the worst and whatever. And so like I very quickly I stopped reading books. Like I think I read like a book when I was pregnant with Lily, and then like afterwards I was like, you know what? Like I think I'm going to do whatever works for me, and whatever works for Lily,
mm-hmm.
cuz all babies are different, right? So I don't know, but it's hard to, like if I were to open the book that I have, What to Expect When You're Expecting or whatever, I would be like, man, I am failing hard. I am doing all the wrong things. But I mean, Lily's really happy and Holly's doing really well too. So I'm like, okay, well, obviously, this is just one example of how you could do it, but it's not how you should or whatever. Like, we just need to stop using the should word and stop shaming each other,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not good. It's not healthy. Um, I don't know. I actually didn't
Yeah.
know that should was a shaming word until I've been in therapy for a while, and like I think like a year ago or something, like my therapist was like, "Oh yeah, should, like it's a shaming word." And I was like, "Huh." Like I was like, "You're
Yeah, you
right,
don't think
it is."
about it.
Yeah, like when people say
Yeah.
you should do it this way, like it's kind of shaming. It's like, well,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do it that way. This episode is sponsored by Children's Business Fair. Do you know an extraordinary child, a budding superstar who's ready to take on the world and who loves to have fun? If so, he or she deserves a chance to shine at the Children's Business Fair, a one-day event where young people can launch and showcase a business. You'll be amazed by what children can accomplish, and it's a great way to bring neighbors together amid sunshine and laughter. At a children's business fair, children will make something with their own hands, sell it safely to a stranger, and experience the freedom and responsibility of having a little extra spending money as a reward. It takes less than 10 minutes to apply and as little as 3 hours to plan a fair. Just set up a few tables on a lawn and send a few emails to friends and family. You can host a fair for free, and they'll even chip in up to $500 as prize money. Sound too simple? Join parents who want to equip and inspire their children to shine in the real world. Start your audition to host a children's business fair in your community, or find out more at podcast.childrensbusinessfair.org.
When I worked at our daycare center, like we had infants through kindergarten, and then you could go to the kindergarten through high school thing.
Mm-hmm.
But oh my goodness, the regulations and all the rules for those infants, like it's like a phone book. And we had to know all the things. And they're like, this is the way that you put the baby down to sleep. They can't have this, and this. And don't you dare do da. This is how you change their diaper. This is how you sit them in the chair. This is how you take them on walks. It was like so intense. Like
Wow.
think like 3 horrible mother-in-laws. Like it was like,
Oh,
like,
no.
leave me alone. And the thing is most of us working there were all moms who brought up our own kids, and we're like, are you kidding me right now?
Yeah.
Because according to this manual that is given to us by the state, my kid should be dead. Like apparently they can't survive if you wipe their face with a baby wipe. Like how dare you?
Yeah.
Just all of these things. And so at work, I would do what I was supposed to because I didn't want to get in trouble. You know, I'm going to follow the rules. Okay. But then when I got home, I just let my hair down, and I'm like, I know what I'm doing here. I can just let loose a little bit and we can relax, you know. But it can be quite intense. And then sometimes, you know, first time mom thing, you're like, oh, you know, if they're not crawling by this point, then they're really concerned, or they need to reach this milestone and that milestone. And you know what? The majority of the time, the kids will get there when they get there. You know, obviously, if there's a big concern, you talk to your pediatrician about it, and then you get some help if you need to.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes people are just so intense. It's like, just relax. Just they grow up by them naturally. Like it's a natural thing. Just let it happen.
Yeah.
And feed them, love them, clothe them, and then just let it happen, you know?
Yeah.
So
yeah, my I was super concerned. So before I think Lily was like, she was like maybe 13 months or something, or 14 months, and she like wasn't really saying words yet. And I was like really, really, really concerned. And I was like, Paul, we need to talk to the pediatrician. She's supposed to be saying this number of words. The book said so. The book, you know, like, but so I was like, the book said that blah, blah, blah. And I like Googled it and stuff. And then like our pediatrician was like, unless she's 2 and still not talking, you know, don't worry about it. And then literally the next week, like Lily was like, Encyclopedia Britannica, like she just overnight she was like, now she's like talking in like 4-word sentences and crap. So like obviously there's nothing to worry about, but you know, but it's just that's I mean, babies are gonna do what they do in their own time. And you know, that's why like I told my best friend, like, stop reading books, because you know you're gonna stress yourself out, when really like I could have just not been stressed and then waited. And then, you know, Lily's fine. She's like super smart. Like, you know, I mean, she's like counting things accurately now. And it's like, you know, oh my God, like slow down. You're not going to college yet. You know what I mean? And so, yeah. So, I mean, milestones, I don't know. And like, there's like, so I'm in a couple mom groups on Facebook, and like, I don't know. I just feel like, I mean, some moms have like legitimate questions, but like a lot of it is like, my kid is walking at this time. Like, what do you guys think? Is that too late or whatever? And it's like, it's nobody's business really. I mean, like, you can be proud of your kid, whatever, but like, I feel like it's kind of like a humble brag. Like when people are like, oh, you know, my kid was doing this awesome thing at this young age. Is that okay? Like, of course it's okay. Like, you know, be proud of your kid and don't rub it in my face. Like, you know, because then I'm gonna like compare my kid to yours, and that's not good, right? Because I don't know you, like, I've never met this person before in my life, but I see them on social media, and I'm like, damn, like,
Mhm.
should my kid be doing that too? And no, like, they shouldn't. They should. We need to let kids do what they do,
Right.
basically. So yeah, I don't know, but so that kind of like gets to me sometimes because I'm like, okay, we need to stop these mom groups. I don't know. And like, it's the thing, it's what I was talking about earlier. It's just as moms, it's so much more like important, I guess. So it's so much easier to like compare ourselves to each other and judge each other for whatever, like, I don't know. It's a lot. It's a
Yeah.
lot, and it takes a toll on me mentally.
Mm-hmm. No, I think you're totally right, because I have some friends who haven't had kids, or maybe they don't want kids, or I don't know, it's their business, it's not mine, but they're out traveling and they have this gorgeous long hair, and they've got these cute outfits. And I'm like, wow, that's cool. Like, but I'm never gonna have that. I just kind of accept at this point, my kids come first, and like they'll get 10 new outfits and I'm still wearing this crummy shirt I have in college, because
Hmm.
I'd rather give it to them.
Yeah.
It's fine. And I'm not really going to travel. Like, we might take a little road trip to the town next over or whatever. So yeah, I don't really compare myself to them because they're living a totally different life. But you're
Hmm.
right. It is the families who are like, they're close enough that they're kind of in the same life as you, but
Yeah.
they're doing it different. And like, and I think a lot of it is the fear of missing out too. It's like,
Hmm.
I'm going to miss out. My kids are going to miss out, and I only have like one shot at this to get it right,
Yeah.
and oh my goodness, the fear of missing out is huge for me. And I have to be like, Brittany, calm down, like just enjoy what you have, because instead you're spending all this time worrying about what you might not have or might miss. You're not even
Yeah.
enjoying what you have now.
I have
Like, what
that
kind of
problem
life is,
too. Yeah.
yeah, like just enjoy the life you have now. And if something else comes along, great. And if it doesn't, that's okay, because you're enjoying this, what you
Yeah,
have
just be in
now.
the moment. Yeah, I have a lot of trouble like staying in the moment, being in the moment. And I mean, Paul and I got married and like 5 seconds later I was like, let's have a baby. Like, I'm always like, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? And it's hard for me to just stay in the moment. And then having Holly, like, I really wanted another one because I was like, well, what's next? What's next? Like, I can't just, I mean, I'm over the moon that we've Holly and she's perfect, but I mean, I could have waited, I'm only 30, like I'm nowhere near like, quote unquote dried up. Like I can still,
Mhm.
pop out babies for a long time. So I could have waited. I just, there's something in my head telling me like I have to do it now. Like, um because I see other families with like big, like a lot of kids, and I'm like, man, I could be like them. I could be like them. And it's always, you're always, the grass is always greener on the other
Mhm.
side, basically. And so like we need to learn to, if you water your grass will be greener too. You don't always have to look at what's my neighbor doing, like how's their grass doing, I guess, if we're still using
Mhm.
that analogy. But it's hard to do. Like it's hard to do that.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of time to kind of train yourself to do that. I'm still working on it. I mean, I have a therapist that I see every week, and we're always talking about that. Lisa,
Yeah.
stay in the moment. Lisa, ground yourself. You stay in the moment. Don't, especially with my dissociative disorder. Like if something gets really emotional, I'm out. Like it is, my brain's like, okay, peace. Like, so I'm like constantly thinking about other stuff. So it's really hard for me to stay in the current moment and just be happy with where I'm at. But I mean, I am happy with where I'm at. I have two beautiful
Mhm.
children, and I need to just relax and calm down and be like, what, my life is great and I'm doing an excellent job as a mom. And people might have opinions about how I do stuff, but they can go away.
Yeah.
They can go pound sand or whatever. They can just fly away, like, because I don't have to pay attention to that. You know what I mean? But yeah, anyway, it's tough. That comparison game is a huge B word.
Mhm. Yeah. I once was told, if you wouldn't take advice from somebody, don't take criticism from somebody, like that same person.
Oh yeah.
And that was huge, because there was a point in my life where I was just getting criticized seemed like every day of my life. And I'm just like, I can't win. And then I heard that and I'm like, oh, I really don't care because I really wouldn't take any advice from this person. I don't care what they think about me.
Man.
I'm so freeing. And then another thing I just thought about was like, do dads deal with this? I don't think dads deal with this. I think this is a mom thing. Maybe I'm wrong.
I'm thinking about my husband, and I don't think he like gives any F's at all.
Yeah, like I mean, I know that they are not as free with their feelings most of the time. Some dads are, and that's great. But I'm like, I'll be looking at Mike, I'm like, what are you thinking about? Like, nothing. Like, how do you do that? Because my brain, it's like a computer screen with all the tabs open. One of them's making noise and there's pop-ups and I can't turn them off. Like, how do you do? And they're just so chill. We need to be more like dads, just chill. It's like, whatever, it's fine. Like, they're eating ice cream for breakfast. Who cares?
Yeah, that's the differences between, you know, men and women. And, you know, it's just, yeah. And Paul, I mean, I don't think that he ever compares himself to anybody. Like, he's so sure of himself and he's so like chill all the time. And so like, I'm like, damn, like I need to be more like him, you know. But then there are other ways where I'm like, I'm really glad that I'm not like him in this way. So it's like you know, I'm glad that he can be the chill one and I'll be the, you know, crazy emotional one. That's fine. It's just, you know, sometimes I'm like, man, like, Paul, give me some of your chill. Like, what are you smoking up there?
Yeah, he's so relaxed. And my husband and I are so opposite. And it has been a very long time since we've had a real fight. But I get very animated and my arms go flying because I'm part French. Okay, so we speak with our bodies.
Oh, nice.
And my voice goes up and down. I'm very animated. Like, even if you can't lip read, you could probably tell exactly what I'm trying to say because I make pictures with my hands. And he's just so calm and he talks like this and his face never moves. And I'm like, like, would you just like yell, please? Because I feel like you're not feeling the same level of emotion that I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And then I get more mad and it's not great. So we try
and
not
then
to do
we
that.
like, you know, and then we even compare, like, I mean, I don't know if you do, but like I was saying about Paul, like I even compare myself to my own husband, you know, because I'm like, man, like he looks at things this way. Should I be looking at things this way? And, you know, and so like, I mean, like I said, it's freaking everywhere. Like you can't get away from this comparison game. It's like it's everywhere, and I don't know how to kill it. Like, is there like a special knife, like a magic knife I could just like stab it right in the heart and then like be done with it? Because it causes a lot of anxiety. And like I've always had anxiety, but it makes my anxiety like really like come to a head, and it's hard. Thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode of the Imperfect Moms Club. If you like what you heard, please visit our website at www.imperfectmomspodcast.com. There you'll find more information about us, a list of all of our episodes, a blog, and even a merchandise shop. We love this podcast so much and are thrilled to be able to share it with all of you.